Hello everyone and welcome to this video. All the technologies we are seeing today are the outcome of fundamental physics. Well, it seems like new technologies are developing every year. But trust me, all of those are fundamentally based on few mathematical equations. I personally believe that there are 5 fundamental equations in physics, which not just revolutionize our understanding of the universe, but has a great impact on our civilization as well. The first among those are F equal to ma, the Newton's second law, the equation of fluid mechanics, Ohm's law in electricity, the equation of kinetic theory of gases, can be derived using F equal to ma. The second equation is the Maxwell-Faraday equation. It triggers the electric age. All the electronic gadgets, all the circuit and circuit law could be derived from this equation. The third equation is E equal to mc square. Energy mass equivalence. It started the nuclear age and led to the invention of atomic bomb. All the stars in the sky shine because of this equation. The fourth equation is the Einstein field equation. It predicts the existence of black hole, gravitational wave, time travel into the past, and Big Bang itself. It is the foundation of modern cosmology. The last one is the Schrödinger equation, the master equation for governing quantum system, which has a major impact in developing laser, computer, and many more. But how could this even possible that some simple equation scribbled on a sheet of paper has such a huge potential to unlock the secret of the universe and has such a great impact on our civilization as well? And why scientific method is so powerful that it makes us capable to land on moon? Let's figure out in this video right now. Have you ever thought how Newton discovered gravity? Or how Einstein published new laws of physics which completely changed the way we look at the universe? Well, it was a long year of dedication and most importantly, the sacrifice they made. But the first most important thing is the dare of raising question. Every great discovery begins with a simple kind of question that usually get ignored by most of us. For example, Newton asked, if an apple falls, so does the moon also fall? Einstein asked, what do we see when we travel on the beam of light? These questions inspire them to investigate deeper about the nature and lead them to become one of the greatest minds in human history. So, if you have any of such questions, drop down in the comment, and the answer of those questions should be investigated through the method of science. We know about the world through our 5 senses. These are eye, ear, nose, tongue, and skin. Everything that we know about the world is through these senses. A living creature without these senses would never know anything about their surrounding. But most important question, does these senses tell us truth every time? Well, we can't be sure about this. Let's understand in this way. We can't see in the dark as there is no light present there. But what about the mosquitoes? How do they even bite in the dark? And what about the night vision camera? Well, there is a light present in the dark which can't be detected by human eye. That's why we cannot see in the dark. But mosquitoes and the night vision camera can detect those lights. So now it is completely clear that the world we observe through our 5 senses is a tiny part of the actual world that exists outside our world. For the purpose of scientific investigation, our senses are the worst data-taking devices. There are the finer detail in the nature which our senses cannot detect. Apart from our senses, even our brain is filled with misconception, prejudice, and misunderstanding. Humans are the puppet of mistakes. If we want to figure out the truth, we should never blindly depend on our senses and should never blindly trust our beliefs. Truth. But what do we mean by truth? Well, there are subjective truth and the objective truth. Subjective truth is the truth that we believe it to be true. Some ideologies, superstitious beliefs, religion, these are subjective reality. Nobody can prove their religion or caste through blood test, DNA test, or any other scientific method. These things exist because we wanted to believe in it and exist just inside our head. As long as we don't believe in this, we will be just human being. No caste, no religion, just a human being. On the other hand, the objective truth exists independent of what our personal beliefs are. For example, if somebody advised that when a black cat crosses the road, we should not go further as we meet an accident. This may or may not happen because there is no direct link between these two events. It is a subjective truth. But on the other hand, if someone advised that don't jump off from the high road, the bone will fracture. We must take this advice because it is an objective truth. The law of gravity and the biology of brain will predict this. Whether we believe in Newton's law or not, we will face the consequences. Science is the way to reveal the objective truth. It prevents us from being the victim of our own biases. It is the way through which nature would reveal herself in a way she actually is. Einstein's special theory of relativity says that the time duration that we experience and the length that we measure are different for different observers because those are subjective truth. On the other hand, the speed of light is the objective truth. It is the same for all the observers in the universe. Even our judiciary system trusts the scientific evidences. If somebody says that he or she committed a crime, the court could not punish them until the evidence proves it. So objective truth is independent of someone's emotion, what somebody says or what somebody believes. And the scientific method is one of the ways to figure out the objective reality of nature. There are several ways the science progresses, as I have mentioned at the beginning of this video. Questioning is the beginning of any scientific idea. Sometimes an observation can also trigger the spark. For example, Kepler produces his planetary law using the observation that he made throughout studying the motion of planet, while Newton raises the question which lead him to discover gravity. After observing the pattern, the law would be created. A great example would be Kepler's 3 laws of motion, all come out from the observation. Law would not explain the reason behind observed phenomena, and this is the reason why we say Newton's laws of motion or Newton's law of gravity, because we have no idea why objects follow those laws or how gravity works until the Einstein explained it in his general theory of relativity. To explain the observation, a hypothesis has to be published, which must be mathematically correct and should be logically consistent. Those hypotheses which pass the maximum number of experimental tests becomes a scientific theory. If hypothesis would not pass any of the single test, it is wrong. It doesn't matter who publishes it, how much money he has or how many political connections he has. how logically valid or mathematically elegant the hypothesis is. If it is not matching with the observation, it is simply wrong. This simple technique is the scientific method to uncover objectivity. If somebody publishes the hypothesis and creates equipment to test their hypothesis, and if the observation is matching with the theory, then the theory may be correct, because the person performing the experiment and the one who publishes the hypothesis are the same person. Then he or she may be biased with his experiment, so that result would match the hypothesis. It's better if some other person would perform this experiment, and if that also matches with the theory, then the theory may be correct or maybe the equipment is biased. It is always good to develop completely new equipment by some other team member independently, and if that equipment is also giving positive result, then the theory is pretty well established. But this is not the end of story. The theory has to do more number of predictions, and all has to match with the nature. The more times the theory has been tested under the different circumstances, the better it will be established. Einstein's theory of general relativity has been tested so many times with a different experiment in the last 100 years that it is pretty well established. And if some result is appearing again and again in different theories, then it would no longer be a theory or a hypothesis. It will become a scientific truth or fact. For example, if we measure the charge of an electron in any experiment related to electromagnetism or some quantum mechanical experiment, they all will give the same value, because the charge of an electron is a scientific fact. Now let's come to the most important part of this video. Why mathematical equations are extremely powerful? Well, honestly speaking, nobody has a perfect answer. The question even baffled the great thinker like Galileo and Einstein. Equations are nothing but few mathematical symbols arranged in a specific order, which consist all the underlying principles governing the real physical phenomena. And these symbols follows the rules of mathematics. But what is mathematics, by the way? Is it subjective, which totally exists only inside our head? Or is it objective, which exists independent of human consciousness? When we solve Einstein field equation on a paper, we get black hole, gravitational wave. And when we actually point our telescope in the sky, we discover those things. How are these equations deeply linked with this phenomena? Maybe one day we will have an answer, but for now, what we can do is to explore and discover new equations which would ultimately help us to discover the mysteries of the universe. Now, one thing that I wanted to add in this video, that I am going to make a series of video, and this is the first video of that series, and in the next video I will take you to a deep analysis of all those 5 famous equations that I have mentioned in the beginning of the video. Like, for example, can we obtain F equal to ma from some other generalized equation? Mathematically we can do this. So these are the things that we are going to investigate and analyze in our upcoming videos of this series. So if you really like this video, then do subscribe this channel and keep updated